Hello, hi, you all right?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not bad, thank you. Nice to have a bit of
Good.
sunshine.
I know it makes a change, doesn't it?
Yeah, massively. Welcome to our Instagram live.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks
For
for having me.
That's quite all right. For people watching now, watching back later, or listening at some point, we're going to have a chat today with the wonderful Skinner, and about her support through the Launchpad programme that we've been running for the last 2 years. We've currently got our new round open. The 2021 round is open until the 17th of May. So get your applications started and submitted. So we thought we'd have a chat with Skinner about the support that you've had, and what it was like to apply, what it was like to have some of the support that you've received. So maybe if you just want to start by letting people know like who you are, what kind of music you make.
So I'm Skinner. I'm a female artist from Leeds. I make predominantly R&B, soul music with a few pop influences, a few hip hop influences. So yeah, that's me. I've been probably doing it probably about 10 years now in total since I
Amazing.
first really started off and decided I want to do music
Yeah.
to today. Probably say like my first proper release was maybe like 3 to 4 years after sort of initially starting, and then
Yeah.
it's gone from there really. I've had, as most musicians have, a few successes, a few disappointments along the way as well,
Yeah.
as is the case for most people. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah, always lots of challenges, and that's partly, well, one of the main reasons that we're here as Launchpad in Yorkshire, to try and give people that bit of support, a bit more information, bit of funding, bit of live or performance opportunities as well. So that's why we hope we can help artists like yourself to kind of get through some of those challenges. You've been part of the 2020 Launchpad program, which obviously was a little bit different from our 2019 one. But how did you why did you actually want to reach out and get support in the first place? What was it that you were looking to try and do at that point?
So the way that I heard about Launchpad was a little bit different in that I actually heard about Launchpad through applying for funding somewhere else. And then because I wasn't successful with that, I then found out about Launchpad, was put in touch with Launchpad, and then went from there. But my reasons for wanting the funding from the other place are essentially the same reasons why it
Mm.
was really useful for Launchpad to kind of come in at that point for me anyway.
Hmm.
So I mean, for me, and again, most artists, when you're starting out, you don't have a team. It's just you, and
Yeah.
the main reason we all get into it is because we enjoy creating and we enjoy making music. And whilst, like I say, I've been doing it for years and I do know quite a bit about the other side of things, there does come a point where you kind of a bit stagnant, where you think, right, I've kind of
Yeah.
done everything that I know about, and I'm sort of hitting a bit of a brick wall.
Yeah.
And it was at that point where, I was wanting funding because I was wanting to kind of expand or, grow or do a bigger project, where Launchpad was actually able to come in. And because I didn't get the funding, it was a bit like, well, what now? So they were able to help me plan my next release,
Yeah.
work out the ways that I could maximize things that I was already doing, but maybe not doing to the best of my ability because I
Hmm.
didn't know how. And sort of helping me get my next release ready, and then also supporting me through looking at more funding, more applications, and
Yeah.
that sort of thing as well. So I've really had quite a varied bit of support from Launchpad, in that I had a guy called Scott who was a manager, and he was really helping me through sort of the single release plan.
Hmm.
And so he was helping me as if you might have a manager for however many sessions I got with him. And it was really great that he was able to, provide me his expertise and his way of doing things, because I mean, I love writing lyrics and writing songs, but when it comes to marketing plans and stuff like that,
Yeah.
I find it so hard sometimes.
And it's so important, isn't it, to learn about that
Yeah,
other side of things. And I think, that's what we're obviously trying to do with Launchpad. It's supporting the creative vision of each individual artist or band, but also in empowering you with that knowledge in order to sort of progress in your journey or career. And it is a difficult thing, isn't it? When we've talked to a few artists, and I think this topic comes up a bit, where it's actually like you're so focused on the artistic vision and the creation and the performance and the writing and recording, and that's a lot in itself, isn't it? And it's
yeah,
it's a lot of other stuff to think about. And I guess we're trying to help artists get to that point that's like pre getting to a point of a team where you can
yeah,
do certain things yourself to put yourself in that position. So I think it was also interesting that you mentioned about the fact that you felt like you'd kind of hit a bit of a wall and done everything that you felt like you could do at that point. And actually
yeah,
that's a really good point, and that's actually also what we want to see from applications as well, is that people that have tried this and they've done this and they're really like putting themselves out there and trying to do things, but just need that information, that leg up, that bit of funding or whatever it was. So you did some of the you did the mentoring with Scott,
yeah,
and or advice sessions, whether it's
yeah.
mentoring or advice. And did you get any other support around it? I can't actually remember off the top of my head.
So I had some sessions with Scott, and then I also had a session with a lovely lady called Kat,
Yeah,
and she took me kind of on through a whole different journey of PR, which was fascinating and really opened my eyes up to, again, a lot of things that I didn't know about, and a lot of things to watch out about, because as a musician you get PIs battered around loads of
yeah,
times. But I mean, for me, I didn't even know that there's a difference between good PR agencies, bad PR agencies. I mean, as an artist, what am I looking for in a PR agency when I'm
yeah.
wanting to work with one? When I do get that, elusive funding, you've got to be so sure about where you're placing that and who you're placing that with.
Definitely, and that it's right for you as
Yeah,
specifically, because again, with things like PR and marketing, it is you could do one thing for one artist and it just wouldn't work for another artist because
exactly. And
it's different
I
genre,
didn't
different.
realize that it was
Yeah,
so there was even niche genre PRs. I didn't know that, so I
yeah,
know that now, and I
yeah,
learned a lot about that. And then Kat actually put me in touch with another gentleman who focused more on advertising and placing that
mhm,
advertising money, so through like YouTube, particularly YouTube marketing, and then looking at sort of what you can do to increase your Spotify streams and that sort of thing.
yeah.
So when I say I had a really broad different levels of advice, I feel like it kind of filled in all of the gaps that I was missing in my knowledge, really.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really good to hear. I think as well, just even to define things like PR and marketing and that sort of thing is not always something that you've maybe thought about as an artist at all. And actually you can make the best music in the world, but if you've got no way of actually reaching your audiences and thinking of those different avenues, it's so valuable. So it's really good to hear that you've kind of had that focused experience of doing those
Yeah.
things as well. How did you actually find applying for Launchpad? Because we try and obviously make it quite as accessible as we can to different artists and different genres and all across Yorkshire. So it'd be interesting to hear, like, how you found the application process yourself and what it meant to you.
So because I was passed over from I think it was the Momentum
Oh
Accelerator that
yes,
I'd
that's
applied
it.
for.
Yeah.
I think
So it
they
came.
think they just passed over my application. So
Yeah,
I
that's
don't think
right.
I holistically had the Launchpad application experience.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of my application was passed
Yeah.
over, and then it was just put me in touch and
Yeah,
started the
that's
mentoring
that's a
sessions.
that's a really good thing to bring up, actually. That obviously the way that we normally do an open call and people do applications, like you just said, actually there is a couple of other kind of ways in, almost a little bit, in terms of like applying for that bigger fund, because Momentum it's called PPL Momentum Accelerator, which closed a little while ago, a few
Yeah,
weeks ago, and yeah, it's in partnership with Launchpad. So again, I imagine there'll be people that didn't make it through the round of that will get passed over to us for
yeah,
some more Launchpad support. So I think it is looking at that, like you say, like a kind of more holistic way of doing things, and looking at how flexible sort of and a little bit casual the music industry can be. It can be quite
yeah.
hard to navigate, can't it?
It can be really hard, and sometimes I think it's just nice to have someone to bat ideas around with, that's, not another artist, because I mean,
Yeah,
largely we spend our time talking with other artists, but it's really good to get a view of the industry from someone who isn't, and
yeah.
someone to just say, hey, does this sound good, or does this not sound good? Would you do this? Would you not do this? Just someone to ask even all the little questions too. It's really, really helpful, rather than just kind of internalizing everything, as we
Yeah,
can often do.
yeah, definitely. And I think getting that sort of one-on-one support is obviously different. Some of the other things that we do
Yeah,
and that you might have experienced, you might have seen some of the like panel discussions and workshop things that we've done where people can like listen to experts talking about certain subjects and things. But I think there is that difference of going that step further if if you can get that kind of one-on-one support and really
hmm,
tailor it to where you're at as an artist and what it is you're trying to do.
yeah, exactly. And it was just that it was the people that I was working with through Launchpad were more than flexible to want to talk about anything that I wanted to talk about, have advice on. And I mean, I started off with Scott, and then it was Scott that actually recognised, I think you've got a bit of a need that you actually might be worth speaking to someone in PR. Let me set
Yeah,
that up, and then pass me along. So they were really keen. I got probably more out of it than I think I should technically have done in the sessions and stuff. So they were more than generous with everything that they gave, and really, really helpful.
yeah,
So yeah, it's been a really good asset, and especially like you mentioned in a year like last year, when I think everyone's plans pretty much went out the window, and sort of left
yeah.
scratching your head a bit. Well, what can I do to keep things ticking over, to
Keep it going.
keep momentum? Yeah,
Yeah.
it really, really helped just to
And so
create a little bit of direction and a bit of a plan.
did you manage to release some music throughout of last year as well then?
Yes, I did. So I dropped something at the point where lockdown was just sort of starting, and it was kind of at that point, a couple of months after then, when I started working with Launchpad,
Hmm.
and then yeah, so then I planned my whole release through them, and then I released my single in March. So put into practice everything that we talked about. And again, even from that, I've learned things. There's still things that I'd go away and tweak now, but it
Yeah,
knowledge
definitely.
knowledge is there now, so
It's
it's
all
just
learning.
improving on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's really good. And I think, there was obviously at that point, I think our Launchpad applications at the start of last year were around February, March time, and obviously
Yeah.
going into lockdown and things, and actually plans changing because obviously what people were planning to do, and I'm sure this was similar for yourself, like that
Yeah.
idea of you're planning what you're going to do over the next 6 months to a year, and obviously that changed for pretty much everybody. But having that adaptability and support, it sounds like it's really helped
Mm.
you to keep moving forward instead of kind of you know
Yeah.
finding yourself stuck a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, even now there's still a lot of uncertainty, isn't there? I mean, there's
Totally.
a lot of hope, but I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
uncertainty. So, in that respect, I think it's really good for any musicians that are in a similar position, that are thinking, I don't know what to do. I thought I might be going on tour and I'm not sure anymore, or
Yeah.
I might be doing this and that. It's great to to look at Launchpad, to apply, to be reaching out, and the advice was great, and the sessions were really, really great. And they really did focus on me as a musician and tailor it to me, so it was fab.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously, like, we like to see a plan and we like to see people
Yeah,
say what they want to do and what they've been doing up to that point. But like we've just been talking about, that plan can be flexible, especially at the moment. I think in music anyway, we've probably all experienced the side of it where you need to change what you're doing a little bit,
yeah.
plans change,
And
but
I think a lot of
especially,
it can be, yeah, it's just a lot of it's budget based as well, isn't it? And I think,
yeah,
I mean, for me, one of the huge hurdles last year was I was a gigging artist. So I was, doing a gig or two at least every month. And for me, that's my income that I would put into funding my videos or
yeah,
photo shoots or whatever it is, my
exactly,
campaign. And suddenly you're left without that, and thinking, right,
yeah,
what do I do? How can I maximize doing everything for free?
yeah.
So yeah, it's important to have those contingency plans, and to know what you can do in those situations.
Yeah, and I think that's another interesting point about income, because obviously, for many people, or many people even at an early stage, bringing in a little bit of money here and there, maybe from some gigs and things, and obviously that changed, and talking about the way that you actually fund your project, because it costs money, doesn't it? You know, it costs money to like record, not just in your own time as well, you know, the kind of recording or marketing or whatever it is, or even just like getting to shows and stuff like that. So that idea that we've all had to think about and talk about different ways of like finding funding or finding income streams to be able to like further projects is new and interesting, but it's also been quite a positive conversation, I think, because we're having to do it.
I think, you know, where there's, you know, a wall, sometimes you just have to knock it down, don't you? But it's just finding a way.
You're going to start.
And I think that's it.
I thought you were going to sing Chumbawamba then.
No, save
why
that
not?
for later.
Amazing. Have you got anything coming up that you'd like to talk about a little bit? Have you got any releases or streams or anything going on?
Contingency plans, I don't, because what I had planned to do, I've not got the funding for. So I need to start thinking about, I still want to release that particular song, but it's not going to be released in the way that I wanted to do it. So again, just kind of, so I don't know if that's going to be my next release, which it was. So I'm just playing around with a few things. I've got quite a few things recorded though. So I think it's more just a decision of kind of when I'm releasing things and in what order, as opposed to anything else. I don't want to say what I'm going to drop next, but,
definitely.
Probably a couple more things this year at least.
Amazing. But it is, you know, and again, coming back to like not getting funding applications and sort of having to replan and maybe put the funding application back in at the next date, but it changes what you're doing, and it does ducking and weaving a lot, isn't it?
It is, but at the same time, like, do you know what? When you are applying for it, you do think, oh, I hope I really get it. And it, of course, can be really disappointing if you don't. But I think I thought I would be more disappointed than I actually have been, because there've been so many good things that have come out of actually just doing the application itself is a great planning exercise.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And a great budgeting exercise as well, because I think sometimes I've been guilty in the past of doing a music video and not correctly budgeting, and then coming out the other side with spending double what I expected to do. And if you actually do sit down and do the application, even if you're not successful, you know exactly what everything's going to cost to a T for your next release, and you've still got it there. It's just a case of maybe getting the budget from somewhere else. You've got the plan, it's just shifted it about a bit. So I mean, I'd encourage anyone to do applications anyway, because you never know, and it's really good for just planning.
Yeah, and it's a good point. It's really good for practice and experience. And I don't know if it's like the more you do and you get some knockbacks and actually you kind of get, you know what
to do, don't you, a bit more?
Yeah, exactly. And I've been through that myself quite a few times. And actually it's just like, okay, that's fine. We'll move on. We'll do this. And then, you know, but right when I've done applications for myself and for, you know, the more like the first time or whatever, and it is very disappointing, and it's very easy to think, oh well, it's my music, or it's you know, people don't like it, or the judges don't think I'm good enough, and actually it's not often it's often planning, timing. Are you at the right point? Are we the right support for you? You know, should you be going for something else? And there's lots of things to consider, so it is a little bit it does feel a little bit complex, but hopefully not.
And sometimes, you know, you've got to just keep trying, haven't you? And like you said, sometimes, like when I was unsuccessful with Momentum Accelerator, when I looked at who had been successful, it made complete sense, because their plans were so time sensitive, or they had an opportunity to work with a certain person in a really small amount of time, where I didn't. So my plan wasn't as time sensitive. My plan could have been done at a different time. So it even can be just things like that make a difference.
And you can usually ask for feedback on most different applications as well. And this is the thing, you don't know how close you were to missing out on things like that. And actually it might just be something that's like, oh, they're just not quite at the right point for this kind of support. And so if you just say, I'm not going to bother again, but you've in that time, you've released something else, or you've had some more radio play or something that sort of furthered you on, and you don't apply, then you might have missed that opportunity. So it is keeping on going, isn't it?
Yeah, you've got to keep trying.
Yeah,
never know.
Definitely. Is there anything else you want to share with us about your experience today?
I don't think so. I feel like I've mentioned pretty much everything. I think. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for chatting to us.
Yeah, thank you for
It's
having
been
me again.
awesome. It's been awesome. And yeah, keep in touch.
I will do.
Um,
Thank you.
Amazing. For everyone who's listening or watching now or listening back, the Launchpad applications is open right now. Head to launchpad-music.com for more information and to submit your application. And the deadline is the 17th of May. So good luck. Cool. All right. Nice to see you, Skinner. I'll
You
speak to you
too.
soon.
See you
Bye then.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.